All right, people, welcome to another episode of our bi-weekly Zoom Hangout. It's a pleasure to have all of you. And definitely for all of you, you know, it's Tuesday evening and it's 6:30 p.m. So not exactly the most conducive times. I don't know if people are working from home still or if you are back at office. So definitely, thanks for making your time, making some time to be here, and please feel free to ask your questions, and hopefully, I can make this time productive for you. Right? As mentioned, we are live on YouTube, and so you may be able to watch this video at a later point in time, especially if you want to revisit my answers to your questions. A short tip for people who will be watching this on YouTube at a future date. So we will be making a list of all the questions that you've asked in today's session, and we will list it in the details. So if you click below the video and click on show more details, you should be able to find a list of questions that were discussed. And there will be a list of timestamps associated with each question as well. So you just click on the timestamp, you can skip to that part of the video. So that may make it a little bit more efficient for you. So if there's about 20 questions discussed in today's session and about 4 or 5 of those are relevant for you, then just watch those 4 or 5 answers, and that should save you some time. All right. And yeah, I mean, it takes us a lot of effort to do this, especially religiously on a bi-weekly basis. I think this is probably a 10th or 11th video for this year, and we will still be doing another 4 at least, 2 in November and 2 in December, unless there's another Tuesday coming in. So we plan to do this every second Tuesday till the end of this year. So it's a big commitment from our side as well. So please encourage us to keep doing this. And the simplest way in which you can encourage this is by subscribing, liking, and sharing this video, right? A very short 2-minute introduction. I represent HKUST Academy. This is my firm. I am the chief coach here as well. We've been in business since 2013, and we've had the privilege and the very good fortune of working with some of our best candidates from India. About 98 to 99% of our candidates are from India or are of Indian origin, but living outside of the country. We've had a lot of very good placements, especially over the last 2 or 3 years. We've had a huge number of top 20 placements in the US, top 5 placements in Europe and the UK, ISB and IIMs, especially IIM A in India, NUS, NTU, and HKUST. So top 20 in the US would include Harvard, Booth, Kellogg, MIT, and pretty much lots of other top 10 schools, right? And top 5 in Europe would include INSEAD, London Business School, Oxford, Cambridge, HEC, ISB, IIM A, like I told you, HKUST, NUS, and NTU, right? Brief introduction about myself. My name is Karthik. I am an alumnus of IIT Madras and Stanford University. And I've always been driven by the need to create a lot of impact in my workplace. I used to work for a very large automobile company, and I really enjoyed my time there. I had a lot of good friends, but I always felt I was punching below my weight, so I had this urge to do something much larger in scope. And I thought getting an MBA and getting into a managerial position will allow me to do that. And 2012 was the year in which I applied to business school programs. I took the GMAT, I got a 770 on the GMAT, and then I got into Stanford's exec MBA program as well. But a few things happened in the second half of 2012. First of all, GM decided to close its India operations, so I was left without a job. But that also gave me exposure at a startup in the edutech space. So I spent about 6 months in a startup, and then I realized a few things there. I really enjoyed what I was doing, which was connecting with people and teaching them and mentoring them. I really liked it. At a company like GM, which is huge, there were 2 times in my 3 years that I spent with them when I went to the factory in Pune. It was this place called Talegaon near Pune. And yeah, I felt a lot of pride when I saw the car rolling out of the shop floor, right? But that's not what I get to see on a daily basis. I mean, it really fills me with pride when I'm actually able to interact with people like you and you tell me, hey, Karthik, I've gotten this great admit, and then I have a great scholarship as well. Now that is the kind of connection I want to feel. And I was able to do that in the edutech space. And Jan 2013, I got the call from Stanford, but then by then I had decided that I wanted to try something on my own. And I had booked a place in Chennai and we started operations. And since then, there's been no turning back. And I already told you the August story, right? All said and done, I'm here and you're here. And this is about your questions, not about me talking about myself. So please feel free to ask me your questions. Open floor. So something on the chat window. When should I reach out to you for 3 to 4 schools, R2 applications? I'm due for GMAT, will be taking the first week of next month. The honest answer is we need about 3 to 3.5 months for about 5 to 6 high quality applications. Some optimizations are possible, but I don't want to talk about those optimizations in a public forum because then everybody believes that optimizations are possible and everybody comes to me with like, I don't know, 2 months and asking me to do 5 applications, and that just adds to my stress levels. So we'll discuss that on a as needed basis at a later time. So for right now, just assume that 3 months are required for about 5 to 6 applications, and maybe about 2 months for about 3 applications, 2 to 2.5 months for 3 applications. All right. So assuming deadlines are in the first week of January, this is actually a good time to reach out to us. All right. But there is a slight bit of a conflict with another policy that we have, which is we prefer to sign up students after they are done with their GMATs or their GREs or their executive assessments. And since you're not done with the test already, I think it would be best if you reach out after you're done with the test. Maybe the same afternoon or evening. Please write us an email and then we'll set up a call. We'll discuss how we can work together and then we'll take it forward from there. Yeah. Somebody else has a question. B.Arc graduate, 660 GMAT, planning to retake and push it to 700, 2.5 years of work-ex in EdTech, 3 years by 2022 June. What kind of schools to target in the US? Top 20 possible? No, top 20 is not possible at this point. With a 660, I would probably suggest schools ranked somewhere between 40 and 70. All right. It all depends on how good your profile is. For a top 20, I would expect you to have about 740 as an Indian male graduate, assuming you have an Indian passport. So just because you live in India or you look like an Indian, I'm not going to make the assumption that you have an Indian passport. There's a whole lot of people who live in India, but who are born in the US or some other country. So, they count as foreign citizens, right? But assuming you have an Indian passport, male, engineer, architectural engineering as well, 660, yeah, top 20 is going to be very difficult. So 740 or so. And 2.5 years of work-ex is on the lower side, even if it is 3 years by 2022 June, which is understandable because time moves forward, right? 2.5 years now is 3 years at that point. But the averages presented are 5 years at the time, 2 years below average, all right? So that's kind of where I would answer your question. Tasneem has a question. Hello, I love the essay analysis series, which you have already done. So you have done an MBA from a tier 3 Indian college. No, wait. I'm mixing up questions. Tasneem says, I love the essay analysis series, which you have done. Will you be doing similar essay analysis for McDonough, Haas, and Booth? Yeah, we are open to that. It's just a little bit of an effort. And so, but sure, why not? I mean, we'll probably consider 2 or 3 schools for round 2. Somebody else has a question. I have 12 years of experience and have an MBA from a tier 3 Indian college. Should I go for a full-time or an executive MBA? Currently in a lead product manager role in a B2C IT company. GMAT is 710. So you're at the cusp. You're a little too old for a regular MBA and a little too young for an exec MBA. Please do see some of the earlier videos on August Academy's channel. I think there's one which is tagged as what are the options for older MBA candidates, and then there's another which is STEM MBA versus regular MBA, and something along those lines. Those are some videos where we've actually spent some time looking at the questions, and we've answered it for you. So you may look at the transcript, pick out my answers to the questions, and this question is something that we have asked and answered before. But yeah, right now you're just in the middle, okay? You may apply for a regular MBA program as well, maybe for a second tier college, definitely not a top 20 program. And if you want to apply for an exec program, there are only about 4 or 5 full-time exec options: the Stanford, London Business School, MIT, and I believe there's Marshall. So obviously Stanford, MIT, and London Business School are going to be very, very competitive, which leaves us with Marshall. And Emory has a 1-year program as well. So those are probably 2 programs that you can target. Emory's program, you can target it this year. Mendoza may have another program. That is also something that you can look at. Yeah. Ashwini has a question. Do you guys work on MEM applications in the US? Definitely, we have worked on MEM applications in the past. We are open to looking at it for this year as well, but our bandwidth is a little tight. So we'll have to consider this. Our charges are probably going to be the same as MBA charges. So that's something that you'll have to think of. Yeah. Somebody else has a question. Is it possible to get into a top 20 with 4 years of work experience to industry and a GRE score of 332? I think we've had a discussion already. Yeah. So I don't think my answer would change based on what we discussed previously. And your situation, I believe, is a little unique. Your GRE score is great, but your experience may be a little bit on the patchier side. I'm saying all this because I know this candidate's background, right? I have looked at this candidate's profile. But this is not universally applicable to somebody with 4 years of experience in the auto sector, right? So this is a candidate who spent time outside of work doing a few other things as well. So that was an area of concern for me. And I think that would still be a concern. But yeah, I mean, other than that, whatever we discussed earlier, that should be good. Anvesh has a question. I have 5 years of experience. Does resigning from the job 6 months before the application affect your chances of admission? Can we address this in the application if I quit the job for personal reasons? So yeah, if you have acceptable reasons, by all means, I think that is something that you can present. Now, I don't know what your reason for quitting the job is, Amish. So I'm just going to go out on a limb here. If it is for preparing for the GMAT and preparing applications and all that, I will tell you that a lot of candidates do that. And I will also tell you that a lot of candidates cover it up by giving some reason or the other, saying they work with their father. I mean, they won't say they work with their father's friend's NGO. They will just say they work with an NGO. I mean, they'll give me all sorts of reasons, and I just shrug it off, and then I say, hey, you know what? Yeah, sure. And that sounds like a good experience. But really, I mean, it's impossible for me not to look at it without a question mark, right? And I don't think I'm any more or less skeptical than admissions committee officers. So if you are quitting it for the GMAT, sure. I mean, I think even if you give other reasons, people may be under the assumption that you quit for the GMAT. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? It's not necessarily a good thing. It's not like a horribly bad thing. I mean, it's not a crime. It's okay. I mean, it's fine. But once in a while, there are legitimate reasons, right? There are legitimate reasons like, I don't know, I mean, something going on in your family, which you can't talk about in an open forum, but you may be able to explain in a one-on-one setting to the admissions committee officer in the AdCom in the optional essay. So, I mean, you can't rule those things out. So if something like that is applicable to you, by all means, I mean, that's okay. But other than that, if it's just about GMAT, sure. I mean, you have to take some time off to prepare for the GMAT, and you're going to explain it however you're going to explain it. That's okay. And they are going to give it whatever credibility is due. Will that affect your chances? It may affect your chances marginally, but if the rest of your professional experience is legit, and if it is, if it's good, then I think you will still be valued for the rest of your professional experience. So don't worry too much. Whatever it is, you've taken the time off, and right now you just address it and then move forward. It will not affect it a lot, but it will affect it a little bit. Yeah. So somebody else has a question. Hi, I've shared my resume over mail. I'm a deferred MBA candidate. Did you get time to go through the same? You had asked me to share details in October. Yes, I haven't gone through my email in a few days. I will explain why in just about 5 to 10 minutes. Somebody else has a question. Greetings, Karthik. I've scored 770 in my GMAT. I'm working in the political domain from the last 3+ years. As the industry is unstructured, I don't have any official email ID given by my company. Is there a problem with it? For your personal application, it's okay to go with a Gmail. It is probably better to go with a Gmail or a Yahoo or whatever it is. Right? I mean, I'm not partial to Google by any standard. But your recommendations, it's best if they come from official email IDs. So that's my comment here. But if you've been working in this and you don't have an email ID and your recommended also does not have an email ID, that may create some crisis of confidence there. So that's something that you'll need to think of. Otherwise, great profile. I don't know if you've written to me. Please do write to me. I would like to talk to you further. And if you want to work with us, happy to have you work with us. One more question. Hi, Karthik. Indian MBA with 11 years of work experience, out of which 4 years are in Singapore in corporate finance. I'm preparing for the EA and targeting 150. What are the chances for getting in MIT Sloan Fellows or Stanford MSX? So I still haven't acclimatized myself to what is a good EA score and what is not. You may write to me. I'm assuming a 150 is bang in the middle. I think the range is 100 to 200. Right? So if 150 is bang in the middle, then that's probably like a 600 on the GMAT. Is that right? Yeah, I'm not. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Somebody say something. Hi, Survi. How are you?
Hi, Karthik. Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Yeah, tell me, Survi.
When I go into the official websites for MIT and Stanford, I see their average is somewhere around 147 to 157. They are expecting for EA score. So
Okay,
based
got
on
it.
that.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to give you a framework for an answer. I'm not going to give you an exact answer because I don't know what this 150 means. But in general, I'll tell you how this works. Assuming you are able to convert it into an equivalent GMAT or something, right? And the equivalent GMAT that is published is around 650, let's say. You would need about 40 to 50 points more as an Indian national. So that's the general rule of thumb across all colleges, across all programs. Why? Because Indian candidates, there's nothing to say that Indian candidates are much smarter than the rest of the world. Nothing of that sort. We just have a large population. That's the bottom line here. So think of it. There's 100 seats in any US college. And what's going to happen is there's going to be about 55 to 60 seats reserved for US nationals with US passports. Yeah, they could be born and living. They could be living in India, but they may still have a US passport. That still counts in that 60% quota, right? So 55 to 60% US passport holders, which leaves us with about 35 to 40% across the world, of which you may safely assume 1/3 is Indian. So about 12% is Indian, right? Now, coming back to a large population, we have just as many people writing the GMAT in India as we have people writing the GMAT in the US. In fact, we probably have more Indian people writing the GMAT in India. So assuming 25,000 people write GMAT in the US, 25,000 people write GMAT in India, 700 is probably like a 90 percentile score, which means the top 10% are going to get 700 and more, right? So we have 2,500 people in the US with 700 plus, and we have 2,500 people in India with 700 plus, right? Now, where does it get interesting? The 2,500 people in the US, they have 60 seats in one college, right? Whereas the 2,500 people in India, they have 12 seats, right? So it's not that we have insanely smarter people. It's just that we have a lot more people. That's it. And we have fewer seats as well. So because of these two things happening in conjunction with each other, Indian candidates, typically the averages are boosted up. So instead of the top 10% getting admitted, you'll have the top 1% getting admitted. So that's basically what happens. And the same scenario is likely to translate to any other exam as well. So be it the EA, be it GRE, whatever it is, the same principle applies. It's just that the scale will change according to the scale of the test. That's all. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, if the published average is about 147, and that is like a 600 on the GMAT because it is bang in the middle of the 100 to 200, then I would expect an Indian candidate to have at least a 650 to 660, preferably. Which seems a little weird for me to say because MIT and Stanford typically don't go hand in hand with 660, but still, I'm just speaking hypothetically. Now, condensing that back, we are probably looking at around 162 or something like that. Yeah, 162 to 163.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But, I mean, take the framework, not the number, and you work out the numbers yourself. So,
Can I?
Yes, yeah, please go on.
Yeah. Okay. How does the diversity plays a role over here? When I say
may help. It may help. So nationality is one way you divide up the 100 pie, right? So there's 60 Americans and 12 Indians. Then there's men and women. That's one way in which diversity works. So again, I think nowadays people are shooting for 50% men and 50% women roughly. And within that, the same India-US scenario applies in reverse. There's a lot more male applicants than female applicants. So, similar fundas here. There's other elements of diversity which may or may not apply, which we can discuss in private. But all those also figure in, yes.
So safely 160, anything above 160 would make the chances would be better.
Don't take the number because it's a measure I don't quite have a handle on. But roughly about 40-50 points more on the GMAT, and whatever that translates to on the EA, that should be okay. They should have a converter floating because both of these are at the end of the day they are done by the same organization, so they should have a converter. So there's a question by Ratna. I have 12 years of work experience aspiring for a Fellows MBA in the US, which is the same program. I have been an individual contributor with little managerial experience. How do I project this case in my application? All right. So think about all the strategic work that you have taken up in your office. So that could be, leading a new initiative. Let's say your company wants to get into a new vertical, and you did market research for that vertical, and then you figured out how your company is going to develop new offerings for that particular vertical, right? So that could be considered an example of leadership. Think about project management. So that could be considered an example of leadership as well. I would say being a part of minor office initiatives like organizing the company picnic and all that should be an example of leadership, but perhaps not at the fellows level, perhaps at the regular MBA program level, especially if you're like, we had this candidate with 2.5 years of work experience, right? As opposed to the average of 5 years of work experience. For someone like that, yeah, definitely planning the office picnic or the office, whatever that's called, right? I mean, this offsite, yeah. So those things may count as leadership. But even there, if the experience level goes to like 4 or 5 years, that's just like, having fun with my friends kind of thing, right? Yeah, so these are some of the examples I can think of where you can show your leadership experience. And other than that, you just talk about what you have and hope that the committee likes it.
Yeah. Thank you, Karthik. I have one more question.
Yeah.
What percentage does the EA score or the GMAT score speaks in my overall application?
Yeah, for an
Because
Indian
there are some
candidate,
7 to 8 elements in the application that they've asked, and this is just one part of it. So I
yeah,
just wanted to know how much, like, I mean,
yeah.
what will be the first element that they pick when they see my application?
So see, I mean, it's very the exam score matters a lot. Okay.
Okay.
I'll tell you why. Because they may have about 7 or 8 elements, but you can take it for granted that they will have a good number of people who have applied who are very competitive on all 8 dimensions.
Okay.
So there's very little that separates the top of the pack. So let's assume that there's 12 seats, going back to our analogy, 12 seats for Indian candidates. They may receive applications from 240 people, right? So it's very easy for them to shortlist about 30 people who have excellent credentials on all 8 dimensions. Now, suddenly small things start mattering. And in fact, after they are able to shortlist it to about 30 people where you have only 12 seats, after that, I mean, it's anybody's guess. It could just be like, today it's raining, so I feel like I want to have coffee, and then somebody's going in a certain mood and they pick a certain candidate. But if it is sunny, they would have picked some other candidate. After that, I would just leave it to variability of luck at that point. But getting to that 30 candidate point, I think till that point, definitely you can differentiate based on skills and scores and all that. And see, I mean, all of these exams, they are a little unfair to the candidates. I speak for the IIT JEE as well, and CAT and everything. Let's look at the IIT. They say they select the best 5,000 students out of 5 lakh applicants or something. Do we know that they are the best 5,000 out of 5 lakhs? Perhaps not. There could be a different set of people who are the best 5,000. And perhaps there is no concept of best 5,000. On that particular test, they were the 5,000. On that particular day, they were the best 5,000. Same test, different day, you'll have a different set of 5,000 people. Different test, same day, you'll have a different set of 5,000 people, right? So the top 5,000 will change. But the school is guaranteed to get good students. As long as they get anybody in the top 20,000, they're still getting very, very competitive candidates. You agree with me there?
Yes.
So the school has very little to lose. After they down select to the top 30%, they may just pick a lottery ticket and it still works for them. But you are an individual, it may or may not work for you. If you're lucky, you get into the pile. If you're not lucky, you don't get into the pile, right? So I'm not saying this is how schools do it. I don't want to be quoted on this, even though I am on record at this point. I'm just making a hypothetical argument that beyond a certain point, it becomes very difficult to differentiate candidates, and small things seem to matter. So the scores definitely will matter. The holistic application that colleges promise, that is still true, but what you end up being in is you end up being in a position where there's a lot of competent candidates.
Okay, thank you, Karthik. One more question. Sorry. Sorry, I noted it down, somehow I missed it. Okay,
Yeah,
we can take others' question. I'll type.
Yeah, sure. That's okay. We can talk about it later. Yeah.
Hello, Karthik.
Hi, Tasneem. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I seem to have a phone going across the board somewhere, but I can't find it. Yeah, tell me, Tasneem.
Okay. First of all, thank you so much for your sessions. I actually followed you on YouTube 2 weeks back, and I've been loving the analysis and everything, and it has been super helpful. I had also reached out to you over email, and you had given me a reply, so thank you for that again. But I sort of wanted to talk to you, on this forum where I sort of describe the kind of situation I'm in. I know you gave me a suggestion, but I'm still confused about what should be my next step. So basically, I don't know if you remember, but I basically said that I was in a multinational company in Bangladesh, and I have above 2 years of experience, around 2.5 years of experience, and I left my job in July because I will be moving to the United States this December. So in the meantime, I wanted to spend time with family, figure a few things out at home, and be basically be ready to move to the United States. And the problem is that I understand that there is a gap, but in the meantime, I have also been working on my business, which has been running quite profitably since the past, 5 years. I started this business when I was a student in my undergraduate years. So I just, you had told me to look for a job as soon as possible. But in this transition, I really cannot look for a job in Bangladesh. And I think it might also take me some time to look for a good job that won't be a demotion in the sense for me in the United States. So what do you think I should do?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very special situation. I mean, definitely continue doing whatever it is that you're doing with your company, right? I mean, that goes without saying, and it seems to be that you're doing well. And December is 2 months away, right? So it's not too far off. And once you get there, I don't remember your academics or things like that, but I think you were in the FMCG space, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, getting a good job may take about 2 to 3 months. I agree with you, and just go with it. The timelines may not work for this year's application, but then if you're just 2.5 years out of college, then I mean, a good application happens at about 4 years past college, 5 years at the time of the enrollment in the business school. So 1.5 years from now, you should have about 15 months at the new job in the US, right? So I think that should still be okay. And at that point, which is roughly in the year 2023, applying for intake of 2024, you'll probably be writing about this gap between September and December of 2021, right? We are in 2021. Yeah. So, moving countries, spending time with family, I think all of these are valid reasons. So you just write about it at that point. Yeah, but if you wanted to apply this year, that may not be very helpful. So that's something that you need to keep in mind. But 2 years from now, it's not going to be such a big deal, and especially if you've established tenure of about 15 months in the new company.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So I have another question. I contacted you on email for 2+2 deferred MBA programs. Do we work with candidates for 2+2s? How can I get on a trial call with me? Yeah, just a minute. I'll get back to you on that. GMAT of 750, primarily applying to M7 schools. Should I be going for a higher score after preparing for another 30 days? It seems really, really stupid of me to be saying this, but 750 is a very good score. But given the competitions that we are facing right now, if you feel like there is room for improvement, yeah, go for it. 760 seems to be where the scores saturate at this point. So beyond that, it's not so much of an issue, but till 760, I think it's worth improving. And yeah, I'll just get back to you on this trial call and all that. It's not exactly a trial call. I wouldn't want to call it a trial call, but I'll tell you how we can get on the phone with each other. And I'll also explain what's happening with regards to our bandwidth and all that. Let me just answer everybody's questions. So there's another direct message here. Hi Karthik, this is Aditya. I am a chartered accountant and a CFA level 2. Post-qualification work experience of over 3 years. I gave my GMAT and secured a score of 760. Tried to contact you through mail, but couldn't get through. I will respond to that in just a minute, Aditya. Sorry about that. All right. Harsh has a question. Fellows MBAs has any value in the US? In India, executive MBA has zero value even if one has done it from IIM A. My concern is whether one can get a job after doing an executive MBA from MIT or Kellogg. I disagree. I think the executive MBA program at IIM A is actually good, and people do have good career outcomes after the exec MBA program, which is called the PGPX after IIM A. But you'll have to understand that IIM A's exec program is probably the same or targeted at a slightly older population than exec MBA programs in the US. So just to give you some idea, IIM A prescribes a minimum experience for about 5 to 6 years, if I'm not mistaken, to get into the exec MBA program, whereas that is the expected experience for a regular MBA program in the US. So you have people in the age range between 28 and 40 in IIMA's exec program. You have people between 25 and 32 mostly in a regular MBA program in the US. So you can see that there's an overlap here. And in the US, if you're looking at an executive MBA program, you're probably looking at candidates 35 to 42, 35 to 45 at most. Yeah? So that's the age group you're going to be looking at, clustered around the 37, 38 mark. All right. So a US exec MBA is not the same as an Indian exec MBA. So that's the first thing here. IIM A's exec MBA program, given that it is targeted at junior candidates, it does have good career outcomes for people at that level of their career. You know, I mean, I think people get 30 lakh jobs and all that out of IIM A, which is fine. Now, with regards to the US, the fellows program does have value. You cannot expect it to have a great support network in terms of recruitment. That may be entirely on you, okay? But the college may help you a little bit by, you know, introducing you to people, and then it's up to you to follow up and get an interview and all that. So it's going to be very difficult for you to do that. So that is something that you have to keep in mind. It's not impossible though, all right? So it's not because the program does not have value. It's more to do with the fact that the program trains senior candidates. You know, just to give you an example from India, the most common scenario is when you are done with engineering college, you have TCS or Wipro coming in and hiring 200 people from the same college. Now that's possible out of BTech, all right? But that's not possible out of PhD, right? And definitely not possible out of, let's say, you have these mid-30s candidates preparing for UPSC and all that, right? Definitely not possible at that point. You can't find 200 qualified UPSC candidates, right? And you don't have 200 qualified jobs for them because these are people who are looking at senior management positions, right? So just given the nature of the class, all jobs that are desired will be at the senior level, and you do not have hundreds of jobs at the senior level. It is not possible to do mass recruiting at the senior level. It's a very boutique service. It's very, very difficult. It depends on the industry you have exposure to. It has to do with your soft skills. It has to do with your strategic thinking. You have to go with a presentation about how you're going to improve your company. You know, it's very niche. It's very one-on-one. So providing that kind of support to about 100 different people is going to be a very difficult thing for the college to do. They may support you from the back, but you may be required to do a lot of running by yourself. And if you're able to do that, then yes, you will be able to find a job, right? So you have to understand it's not because of whether or not the program has value. It's more to do with the nature of who is studying in the program and how many job opportunities are available for people at that level of seniority. Adit has a question. Indian engineer, 2.5 years of work experience in global sourcing. Learning Japanese since college, quit my job to further pursue Japanese and took a break of around 8 months to transition the field by clearing pivotal levels and training myself with the natives. I also started and I'm running a startup with my friends to empower rural artisans by promoting sustainable food packaging. Now I hold an offer from a reputed MNC in their Japanese team and planning to apply for fall 2023, as in getting into college in fall 2023, I'm assuming, which means you'll apply next year. My aim is to get into VC post MBA and I have a GMAT of 700, planning to give it again in a month, after which I will start a new job. What should be my target GMAT? What would be the gap? Would the gap be a stigma in this case? Would 4 years of experience be good enough to get me there? What would be the best time to approach HKUST Academy? All right. I'll answer the easy questions first and then I'll answer the more difficult ones. Approach HKUST Academy for a fall 23 admit would be March of 22, right? We start enrolling people in March. Not that they would be doing a lot of work. We usually have like a small bit of a discount offer in March just to, you know, bulk up our account books and all that. So we offer a discount in March and then we remove the discount in April, you know, April 1st, right? So that's something you may want to consider, but only if you're ready at that time. Okay, don't put unnecessary pressure on yourself. A discount is not worth putting unnecessary pressure on. A good number of people join us by May. So by May, I think we are about 80% to 90% full for R1. We'll still have some room, but that all depends on schedules and are you able to fit my schedule? Am I able to fit your schedule? And those kinds of things. It becomes a very niche one-on-one kind of thing. But yeah, definitely March to May, and March if you want the discount, right? So that's when is a good time to approach us. Would 4 years of experience be good enough? 5 years of experience at the time of enrollment is average. If you have 4 years, that's okay. I mean, we work with candidates in that situation and still is okay. I've addressed the gap question before. Hopefully you were in this session about 20 minutes ago when I talked about it. So hopefully that answer translates to you as well. If you want to get into VC post MBA, I think you have to change those goals a little bit. If you already have experience in VC or some sort of a finance role right now, that's worth writing about. If you don't have experience in a VC or any finance role right now, don't even worry about it unless you've started a startup right now. Okay. Startup meaning like a tech startup, raised funding, you understand how all those things work. Not a big deal. Just change your goals and talk about something a little bit more reasonable, and you'll get into business school. And then once you get into business school, what you do and what kind of jobs you take up, nobody's going to come and look over your shoulders, all right? But yeah, just not write about VCs.
So because the feeder schools for VC were like in the top 10 only. So
yeah, if you're looking at a top 10, I can tell you that your target GMAT should be around 760 if you're an Indian national candidate. But yeah, I feel very strongly about people asking me for target GMATs. Okay, I mean, I start giving lectures. I'm trying to curb that right now. But the basic idea is there should be no concept of a target GMAT. You should just get the best score you can, right? Just because the top 10 says requires a 750 doesn't mean, I mean, if you're going to get a 760, if you think you have the capability to get a 760, would you pull yourself back and say, I'll be happy with 750? No, that's not a good response. And if your capabilities are such that a 680 is the best you can do, then you're banging your head against the wall, So both of these are not correct. Yeah. Best answer here is get the highest score possible and then accept the school that the score will allow you to get into. So that's the order to do this. Just an older guy ranting on something like this, but the target GMAT for a top 10 school is 760, right? Have I answered your questions, or was there something I missed out?
Profile building be an option with HKUST Academy?
Write to me in Feb and we'll discuss what kind of requirements you have.
Okay.
So I am free in Feb and I'm willing to look at new product variants of what we offer. We have not offered a profile building service so far. But every year, people like you ask me the same question and every year I give the same answer and I do it with complete intention. It's just that by February, I'm a little burnt out. But please write to me in Feb and let's brainstorm. And if we can come up with a viable product, definitely, I'll also be happy to do that.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. Ratna has a question. I have a technical certifications. What other professional certifications will look good on my application for a fellows MBA? So they don't depend on you to have certifications. Some of the popular certifications which seem to have a lot of recognition are the CFA, definitely. The PMP seems to be having some sort of recognition as well. I don't think these make a huge difference one way or the other. It's not about having a certification for the sake of having the certification. For example, let's take the CFA, right? Someone who finishes their CFA level 3 by, let's say, the 4th year of work, post graduation or something. If you apply at that point with a CFA level 3, it's probably not going to make a huge difference, except maybe there's 1 or 2 colleges like Rotman would say, if you have a CFA level 3, then you don't have to give the GMAT, right? So that's something that you can take advantage of. But let's look at what this person does in year 5. He or she is going to use the CFA level 3 to pivot from, let us say, a Tata Motors, which is in the automotive manufacturing domain, to maybe an Aditya Birla Sun Life AMC. asset management company, right? And this person is probably going to get about 2 years of equity research experience. Now that equity research experience in their application, right? Especially if they say they have goals of getting into finance and all that. This experience was possible only because they got the CFA. So the CFA was not valid in and by itself. It was not useful in and by itself. It was useful because it opened up some opportunities for the candidate, which in turn will add value to their application, especially because I'm not saying financial experience is the only thing. I've had candidates work for Tata Motors also, and I am, I used to be an automotive engineer myself. And they've done well in their applications too. So nothing to say financial services is a better industry to work in, but that's how a certification helps you, right? I have a candidate who's done a PMP and all that, and this person is a scheduler and a planner working for a large construction firm in the Middle East. So his PMP certification is helping him do something well at his workplace, and he got this new job because of his PMP certification, right? So typically, if these scenarios are true, then yes, your certification is worth its weight in gold. Other than that, it's just something you list and it shows that you are a continuous learner. Beyond that, I think it probably doesn't add too much value. No? Let's see. There's another question. Hi, this is Aditya. Is Aditya still with us? Yeah, Aditya is with us. Yeah. I'm a CA and a CFA level 2. Follow-up question. I have 3 years of work experience in audit and assurance. I want to switch into equity and investments post MBA. So this is your story I've been telling you right now. Yeah. Thinking of joining a portfolio management company as an intern for 6 months and then will mostly be converting into a full-time role. Is that a good strategy to have? Thinking of applying R2 this year. All right. I mean, this job may, especially given that, wait. You have experience in audit and assurance, right? See, I don't see this making a huge difference this year, especially if your 3 years of work experience in audit and assurance is articleship. Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. So
yes,
3 years of experience is post articleship, so post qualification.
Okay, so that is still good then. That's good experience. Now, see, I think you'll have maybe 2 months of experience in the new role. So I don't see this making a huge difference, okay, in terms of this year's applications. But if you were to do this next year, definitely I think this is going to make a huge difference, okay? So that is something to keep in mind. The other thing to keep in mind is don't really worry about how it's going to help you about applications this year. If it's going to set you on a career path that will help you long term and help you do what you want to do in life, I think you should still just take it up. All right. The fact that it's an internship. So I'm struggling to give you an answer because there's this conjunction that you put here, which says you're going to switch your job, take up an internship, and want to apply for R2 this year. All three together seem like a difficult problem. But anything separately, it's not a difficult problem. Applying an R2 with your current experience, not a problem. Applying an R2 PMS experience, not a problem, but don't expect the PMS experience to contribute. Applying next year with your PMS experience with the same goals that you mentioned, I think that's a great idea. Yeah.
And just a follow-up question: that whether switching into an intern role will affect my applications this year, like in a negative way?
Not necessarily. But ensure that it's a legit company. Yeah. What do I mean by that? I mean, they're actually paying you and it's registered as a private limited or an LLP or whatever the case may be. And it's corporate, right? It's not like your uncle is a stockbroker and you're, don't do that.
No, it's a legit company.
Yeah, then it should have value. No issues. Yeah.
Okay.
Shambhavi
Thank you
has
so
a
much.
question. Definitely, yeah. Shambhavi is still with us. Yeah. Hi, I have experience of 3 years plus as an IT employee. Is it the right time for me to apply as I want to apply for a consulting role? But since my experience in IT, would it make a difference? Which country provides a better scholarship chances? I'm yet to take the GMAT. Was applying for 2023. I think 2023 is perfect. You will have 5 years of experience in 2023, bang on average. Moving from IT to management consulting, it's a little bit of a difficulty, but assuming you have a high enough GMAT at that point, it should be relatively easier. But you can always move into technology consulting or business development roles in technology sector. Okay. And that seems a lot more preferred nowadays than mainstream consulting or mainstream financial services too. Again, a very good GMAT will help, maybe about 740, 750 if you're targeting a top 10 program. Yeah. 750, let's say.
Yeah. Hi, Karthik.
Hi, Shanvi. How are you?
I'm fine. Good evening. How are you doing?
Good.
Okay. So I just have a follow-up question. So I'm not sure about if I want to really pursue the tech part because already I feel I'm done enough with it. But since I was working in a banking software company, that finance thing and the investment banking domain actually got my interest, and I wanted to learn more. So I have some certifications in few of the business programs that I have attended, but that is on the Udemy or the Coursera platform, just out of interest. Would that help as well?
No, I think whatever answer I just gave somebody else is exactly applicable to your current question as well.
Okay.
So I don't know if you were there. I was just talking about it maybe about 5-10 minutes ago. Maybe you can look at this video at the 50-minute mark, and the same answer is applicable to your question. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Any other questions? Does anybody have anything else? All right. Great, people. Thank you so much for making it. And the request I would have for you is, please follow us on YouTube, give us a like, a share, a subscribe, and that's going to keep us motivated and help us do a lot more videos. With regards to how you can get in touch with us, right? So we do these hangouts once every 2 weeks. And then some of you all are interested in working with us. So please definitely send me an email. Now, what's happening is till about the 15th or so, we had a lot of deadlines coming up. And yes, deferred MBA applications. I'm just coming to that. Yeah. Till about October 15th or so, we had a lot of applications, a lot of deadlines, and it was really stressful. And we were focusing all of our efforts on R1 applications only. Now we are addressing our interview calls, and that's where we are. So it's becoming a little difficult for us to get back to everybody. But we are trying our best, okay? And the honest truth is we do have space for R2 as well. We definitely have space for R2. We can probably take about 1 or 2 candidates for a 5-school package, and then we'll probably be able to take about 4 or 5 candidates for a 3-school package. So I think we have that space. Now, but we do have a lot of people writing in, and I feel very bad. I want to get back to everybody, but it's just beyond me at this point. So I apologize for that. Now for deferred MBAs, if your application is in March, then I would request you to get back in touch with me around December or January, right? That may be the better time. And I would also have a lot more bandwidth on that, on my hands at that point. But this is my thing for deferred MBAs. If you're applying in December, then yes, please write me an email saying you're applying in December. Now, for the rest of y'all who are looking at round 2 of this year, we will be able to set up a one-on-one call. It's going to take us a few days, all right? So please allow us the time to get back. We do have a small token charge for the one-on-one call, and I will explain to you why we have this token charge. Because we have limited bandwidth, we are doing this webinar where we are helping people with their questions and all that. Hopefully, I didn't hold anything back when I was answering any of your questions, and hopefully it was of value to you. This is the same thing I would have been doing in a one-on-one call anyway. Maybe we could have discussed 1 or 2 more slightly personal points, but broadly, these are the questions we would discuss. It becomes a little difficult for us to allocate that half an hour time for a lot of people, all right? So what we do is when we do this token charge, that automatically serves as a filter, and people who are interested in working with us don't mind it, okay? Whereas people who are just looking to get advice from us, while we would like to advise you, we would be able to do that only when we have a lot of time on our hands, and that is typically the February to April, May kind of time frame. In this particular time frame, we would also like to have some business interests in this call that we take up. So as a filter to filter the people who are interested in working with us versus the people who are not that interested in working with us. That's why we do this token charge. Okay. And then we subtract it when you sign up with us. So in net effect, it is free, but there is a token charge, and then it gets subtracted later when you sign up with us. So that's something. If you are interested, please let me know, and I can send you details. Now, this is also why it's not a trial call. I mean, I know that for GRE classes and GMAT classes, they have this concept of a trial class. This is not a trial call. I'm not going to be counseling you or nothing of that sort. We are just going to be talking to each other. We are going to understand if the chemistry is likely to work out. So one of the things that I would like to tell you is the chemistry is the most important part of this process. Right? It looks like there's many companies, there's many consultants, and everybody has like a comprehensive package. They're charging this much. These people are all of that is there, but it's not to be evaluated on a spreadsheet. It's to be evaluated based on chemistry, right? So sometimes, I mean, it's a mentor-mentee kind of relationship, right? So when you talk to me, I should be in a position where I feel like I like you and I want to mentor you, and you should be in a position where you like me and you want to be mentored by me. I think both of us have to agree on that, not necessarily like talk it out, and not like a Karan Johar movie, but individually we have to think about it and we have to agree on that, right? So that's the purpose of this call. How do we work with our candidates, right? So let's talk about that. Once you decide to sign up, the first step is where I want to understand more about your background. I will share some questions with you, and I will request you to write down answers to that. So this part typically takes the candidate around 10 to 15 days. For somebody who's starting right now, we are almost at the 20th of October, maybe 10 days, finish it up in 10 days so that we have 2 months for the applications, right? And then we do a shortlist based on your candidature. So definitely your GMAT or GRE or EA score that factors in, and then the rest of your profile factors in as well. And then we'll be able to make a proposition for you. Okay, these are some target schools for you. These are some safety schools for you, and these are some stretch schools for you. So based on our proposal, maybe you can select some schools that you would like to apply to. If you have some schools of interest, please let me know as well, and then I can categorize it to you for you in the right bucket. Okay, so that's something that we'll do. This part typically takes about 4 or 5 days, and then we move on to the application stage. So in our comprehensive tier of packages, we have a limit of 1 hour brainstorming call per college. So that's what defines the comprehensive package. Our ultra package, we don't have any limits on the phone calls, except we have a very soft limit, which is 1 call every 4 days. So anyway, everything else is the same across all of the packages. Okay. We'll set up the brainstorming call. It'll be for 1 hour. We'll call in at the appointed time. We'll discuss your life stories once more, whatever you shared with me in stage 1. And then we'll figure out, okay, how do you respond to the questions? Yale has a question, what is the biggest commitment you've made? Okay. Kellogg says, what are your values? ISB says, what are your values? Harvard says, is there anything you want to tell us, right? Or Michigan Ross says, I am proud of the time when I did this, or I was out of my comfort zone when I did this, right? Cornell, Duke say, how do you contribute to the class, right? Pepper says, what is your journey of adversity? So every college has its own set of questions. So we'll discuss those questions. We'll look at your life stories, and then we'll figure out, okay, fine, what are the best stories that you can use for these particular essays? So that's a matching process that we'll do. And then I'll help you put together a bullet point structure for each essay. So this is what we'll do at that point. Then you'll write an essay based on our discussion, and then you'll share the draft with me, and I'll give you my comments on how you can improve it. And then we'll go back and forth till we get the essays right. And we'll also help you with the resume and the letters of recommendation. So this is what we do for 1 school, and then we repeat the same process for 3 schools, 4 schools, 5 schools, whatever it is. There's a difference between our 3-school comprehensive package and a 5-school comprehensive package. In our 5-school comprehensive package, we include 2 mock interviews already, all right? In our 3-school package, it's not there by default. We charge separately for it. So if you want, I can send you a spreadsheet with the pricing details and all that. I will let you know our pricing details right now as well. At this point, we charge about 1.95 lakhs plus GST for the 3-school package that comes down to 230, and 2.5 plus GST for the 5-school package that comes to around 295, right? In another 5 to 6 days, we may be increasing the pricing on the 5-school package. Why? Because we don't have time for 5-school. I mean, we had just about enough time, which is why it is still valid to list it, but it's going to cause us a lot of stress finishing it up by Jan first week or something. So, we are going to be charging you for the stress also. Not that, but I mean, it's literally like there's not a whole lot of time. So that's our pricing. I can send you a spreadsheet right now. Just send me an email and give me about a day or two to reply. I have the spreadsheet ready. I just have to send it to you. Anything else here? Yeah, we also have an online component. We have a few videos recorded about various aspects of the MBA application process. There's a resume workshop. There's 2 or 3 essay writing workshops. There's interview workshops. So all of this content is available online, and we'll be sharing password protected access to you. This is if you sign up for one of our packages, right? So this is everything you need to know. If you need further clarifications, definitely feel free to ping me. We can set up that one-on-one call. I'll let you know how much we charge and how you can transfer the fee and all that. And then you can do that. We can get started. We can talk to each other, and then one step at a time, right? Now, regarding deferred applications, GMAT is not required for phase 1 of the application. You need to share GMAT in phase 2. Would HKUST Academy policy still be the same? No, that's okay. That's fine. Yeah. Can I sign up for that questionnaire one-on-one call right away if I do the payment, given that it will take 10 to 15 days to? Okay, the questionnaire happens after you sign up for a package, but the one-on-one call where we talk to each other can be done right now. Please send me an email and I will let you know. And by that time, I would be done with the GMAT GRE also. So if your GMAT GRE is still pending, then maybe the better thing for you to do is, after we are done with the one-on-one call, you can sign up for our shortlisting package, where we charge for the questionnaire plus shortlisting, which is the first 2 steps that I listed out. And then by that time, you should be done with your GMAT GRE as well. And we will also be done with the shortlist after your GMAT. Then you can continue from that point on. That should be fine. Yeah. All right. Any other questions? Okay, I'm assuming that's everything. Thank you so much for making it, and hope this was a productive evening for you. Please keep in touch and let us know how we can help, and all the best with your applications. Bye.